government. That's what I'm saying.
And let's do a president.
Look, what I'm saying is I don't really care. I don't care about Democrats and Republicans.
Father absence.
Democrats and Republicans are the same. It's the same government. That's what y'all don't see. Like
I'm neither. Like,
political parties are literally to divide us because Democrats and Republicans are the same.
I think
you
and I agree on the fact that there are problems. What we disagree with is that I am telling you that the left started it, the Democrats started it, and the Democrats are still perpetuating it. And the way that they're able to perpetuate it is by getting you to stand up here and ask me a ridiculous question about the goddamn KKK when we should be talking about father absence and abortion and black on black crime. Thank you for your
support.
Don't be nervous.
Everybody, welcome back to the channel. So, Hope all is good wherever you are. In this video, we have Candace,
about a year ago,
Charlie
I think
at a
you did a video for
event, taking some questions and debating some woke liberals.
Dear Celebrities. You have to excuse me if I'm a little nervous. I don't do this thing often.
Don't be nervous.
Yeah. So, this question specifically for Candace. About a year ago, I think you did a video for PragerU.
I did.
Yeah, it was entitled "Dear Celebrities," something along those lines. And
Dear Celebrities, no one cares what you think.
Yeah. And you sort of had three main points from that. It was that, like you said, no one cares what celebrities think. You call out people like Beyonce and Lady Gaga and so on.
Yeah.
And then you said that people, further, that people ought not to care what celebrities think, and that celebrities ought not to act as if we care about what they think.
Still agree.
Okay.
Loved Candace a year ago. She's great.
Yeah. Well, my problem with this is whenever Kanye came out with his tweets in support of President Trump and in support of you, there were you went on Fox News and you spoke very highly of Kanye, and you seemed to
love Kanye.
Yeah. You seem to, like, you approved of his message, and this seemed to start a sort of momentum wave from which the Blexit movement that you started has gone on. So it seems to me that you almost have two contradictory positions on this.
I don't. So I think we've got your question. Can I answer it?
Yeah.
All right, so I don't. Kanye West never once came out and told people what to think. He told people that he likes Donald Trump in the same way that I come out. Hold on. In the same way that I come out and I tell you what I like on this stage. He was not at a for Hillary concert saying, I'd like to introduce you to the next president of the United States, and if you disagree with me, you're a racist or a sexist. In fact, what the media won't show you is that when he was meeting with Donald Trump, he said, I love Hillary too. But that wasn't controversial enough. He said, I love Hillary too. It wasn't someone that I responded to. I like Trump. I like the red hat. I love Hillary. His wife loves Hillary. They live in a house where they have different ideas. Kanye was preaching a message of love and acceptance for everybody to bring us together. Celebrities preach a message of hate, and they tell you what we have to think. They say, if you disagree with me, you're a sexist. If you disagree with me, you're a racist. We must take down Donald Trump. That's entirely different rhetoric. I support black Americans that want to come out and say what they think and what they believe. What I don't support is the other thing where you tell us what we have to think, and if we don't bend to your will, we're somehow racist and don't belong in this country.
Okay. I see what you mean by that, but it still seems to me as if, like, you pick out a single celebrity, because the idea in it is it's not that the celebrities are necessarily forcing you to believe in a certain way, because they do have celebrities that voice their opinion without the sort of threat of violence that you seem to superimpose behind this. But
I only attack celebrities who refer to Americans as racist, as sexist, and as bigots if we don't agree with them, period. There's no evidence of me saying that this person just supports someone and I attack them. For example, I'll give you an example. Justin Timberlake, I think he was pro-Hillary. I haven't heard a peep from Justin Timberlake since Trump won. You'll never see me go out and be like, Justin Timberlake, how dare you have said that you were pro. He's allowed to think what he wants to think. The problem is that when you turn around, you tell us what we must think accordingly. That's my only issue, and I've been consistent in that. You will find no tapes of me saying that celebrities don't have a right to think anything. They have a right to think whatever they want. They don't have a right to tell us what we have to think.
Yeah, that wasn't my point. But
thank you for your question. Appreciate it.
Honestly, it's hard not to agree with Candace Owens on this one. Like she said about Kanye West, everyone is entitled to their opinion. Kanye, brilliant musician, no doubt. I love his music. He's also a sharp businessman. But let's be real, I'm not basing my political views on Kanye. And I wouldn't recommend taking them from any celebrity for that matter. Most of them, Kanye excluded, are woke leftist anyway. I mean, think about it. If you only watched movies or listened to music by people who shared your political beliefs, you probably never see a movie or listen to an album again. Most artists are liberal, right? But what Candace is really getting at here is the propaganda angle. Remember when Hillary was running against Trump, they put out this actually a couple of ads. One was called Important and the other Unimportant. I think one aired right before the election, and the other was like a week before, and they packed it full of celebrities. Scarlett Johansson, Don Cheadle, the Avengers crew, Robert Downey Jr. included. The underlying message was clear. Get out and vote, or the world's going to end if Trump wins, basically. Hillary good, Trump bad. Classic propaganda. But you know what? In my opinion, that kind of preaching probably pushed more people to vote for Trump. No one likes being talked down to. That's the whole point Candace is making. People don't really care what these celebrities think. I'm not a fan of saying stay in your lane, because everyone's entitled to their voice. But when you're going to act like a political spokesperson and lecture your audience, well, it's like, come on, you're an actor. Now don't get me wrong. I'm not looking down on actors. I mean, I'm just a finance and real estate guy, sharing my opinions on this channel. I do reactions. I give you my take. I'm not preaching here, and I'm definitely not claiming to always be right. You guys are quick to let me know when I'm wrong in the comments, but it's just that, my opinion. The thing is, if you're in the business of movies, you should probably avoid alienating half your audience. Look at Bud Light. They tried going woke, and look what happened. Sell your product to everyone. Harley Davidson. Make great motorcycles and focus on that. Don't push people away with unnecessary political messaging. It's bad for business, period. Anyway, let's dive back into the video.
This question's for Charlie. When the Covington Catholic story first broke, you and other conservatives condemned the MAGA kids early on. And to your credit, you retracted the condemnation. But why do you think your first instinct was to join the anti-white pile-on these MAGA kids?
I made a mistake. I would disagree that I did it in the way you described it as an anti-white pile-on. I had misaligned trust in 5 headlines that I read and a 35-second snapshot that, for whatever reason, I was programmed to believe to be true. I did a whole op-ed as a mea culpa, and I think when people make mistakes, publicly they should say they made a mistake. And I said it once, I said it twice, said it 3 times, which is a lot more than any of the journalists have done recently when they've said Russia collusion for the last 2 years. So.
And I want to thank you for the, withdrawing the condemnation and everything, but I'm looking more for some insight on the general culture of conservatives and the willingness to sort of betray young conservatives at the first sight.
Oh, come on. That's so steep. He gets up every single day, he travels 6 days a week, and he fights for conservative beliefs. He makes one mistake, and that's it. Let's put Charlie Kirk on the stake, and we're done with him, and he's betrayed conservatives. That's really, I think you got to give him a little bit of runway. We're not perfect human beings. I make mistakes, Charlie makes mistakes, and you have to be willing to forgive people. At least he has the audacity to stand up and say for the 4th time that he's sorry. People, that takes a tremendous amount. Just to say you are sorry and I made a mistake takes a lot. When someone says they're sorry, accept it. We can't be like this as conservatives. I'm really against this. I hear this all the time. Well, Candace, you were once liberal. Okay, I made 26 years of mistakes thinking that the whole world was racist. Is it okay? Can I come here? Can I apologize? Can I say that I was wrong? That I misjudged conservatives? That I misjudged Republicans? Learn to accept an apology is what I would say to you.
Candace. It's very nice of you to say. Thank you.
All right, I'm speaking more to the general culture behind conservatives. The general culture behind conservatives. Not so much blaming you, Charlie, but in general, you, as well as many other conservatives,
are human beings?
Immediately. Yes, but I feel like the issue was that it wasn't that bad even before we had the context. It was
I would say this, that I think we were talking about this downstairs. I think conservatives to some extent have a little bit of PTSD. If you've been called a racist and a bigot so many times over and over again, I think perhaps, I don't want to say what was going on in your head at that moment, but you might rush to judgment a little bit quicker to disassociate yourself from something, perhaps. And by the way, this is also a piece of just how the media operates. When you see, no matter how skeptical you are of the media, when you see 20 headlines in a row, all laying something out, New York Times, Washington Post, no matter, you may think they're all fake news, but when you see a whole slew of it, at some point, and this is just sadly the way Twitter works and our news works, you comment on something, and you may have jumped the gun there a little bit, but I think you've been pretty contrite here, so.
I can't wait to learn from you about how not to make mistakes so we can meet afterwards and you could teach me how to do that.
Thank you for your question.
Honestly, that was such a silly question to ask Charlie Kirk, especially after he clearly admitted his mistake. He owned up to it, apologized multiple times. on air, on his show, in the same venue where he made the error. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. Like Dave Rubin points out, when newspapers or mainstream media outlets make mistakes, they'll blast it on the front page. The example that comes to mind is the Trump assassination attempt story. Remember when they honored that fallen firefighter at their Owens? They had his jacket and helmet on stage, but the leftist media jumped all over Trump's team for supposedly misspelling the guy's name. But here's the kicker. They didn't get it wrong. The firefighter's wife came out and said, "No, that's how he spelled his name. That's the actual jacket from his fire department." Did the media correct themselves? Maybe, but if they did, it was probably buried on page 84 in some Friday edition. It definitely wasn't front page news anymore, and that's the real issue. Intent matters. If you make an honest mistake while thinking you're right, most people are willing to forgive that. But when you deliberately push out misinformation just to drive a narrative or rack up clicks, that's shady. That's dishonest. Look, I make mistakes on this channel all the time. I'll say something, then realize I was wrong. But I read every comment you guys leave, whether it's positive or negative. I don't delete comments, even if they're critical. I own my mistakes. And often, your feedback changes how I see things. That's the whole point. We're all human, and we're all going to mess up at some point. The key is to learn from it, correct yourself, and keep yourself accountable. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
Right. Good, how are you?
So that's why I say, like, I agree with some of what y'all say. I don't think I'm on the left or the right. Like, I'll be in the middle if it's possible.
Thank you for being here.
Best place to be. I love that
Great
you're here.
To be here.
All right. Well, at the same time, I think political parties were kind of given to us to, like, divide the nation. And if you look into what George Washington and John Adams said, like some founding fathers, they said the form of political parties would be the most evil thing our nation has seen, and it would be the downfall of our nation. And I agree with that, because I don't know, if you look at America right now, it's a big divide. I think it's mostly over politics. But I got a question for Candace.
Okay.
You said America wasn't a racist country.
I never said that. You can't find a single...
You said America isn't a racist country, right?
America is not a racist country. Yeah, I did say that. You're right.
All right. So,
Got me.
All right, I look at one example, like inner city gangs, right? If you look at like inner city gangs, they were really like persecuted 100% by police departments and the government. What did America do to end the ideology or the practice of the KKK at all?
So let's dial this back to end the practice of the KKK. I want to start with saying to you, what percentage of black Americans, black homicides are committed by white people?
That's just like me saying how much percent of homicides. It's like you guys that for any.
No, I'm just asking a question. I'm not trying to walk you into a trap.
I don't really study statistics, because statistics, you could look at any race and look at numbers of killings and murder. So.
Would it be fair if I said that black people are racist towards black people right now?
Would that be fair?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody's a little racist.
Do you think that we're racist towards each other?
No, I wouldn't say racist.
I find it the hyper focusing on the KKK, which killed thousands of black Americans.
I would say that America kind of conditioned, like, if you say black people are racist, that came from America's history. That's just what.
What? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I say if you asked me if you think we're racist to each other.
Yeah.
I don't think so, but if we were.
Okay, because we're killing ourselves, just so you know. Like, we're at a way faster.
You can say every race is killing themselves.
At a way faster and higher rate than any person in terms of white supremacy could ever do it. And if another organization that's doing it faster, you want to talk about the KKK, they killed thousands of blacks. Planned Parenthood has killed millions, 19 million. Nobody's having a conversation about that. And this is important because the media gets us obsessed with this idea of white supremacy and the history of the KKK. Thousands of blacks were killed by the KKK, and by the way, so were white Republicans, and we were killed by white Democrats, which is why I'm adamantly opposed to Democrats. But nobody wants to have a conversation about what's really killing black America.
But black males are probably the most people in prison, so you can't say nothing's being done about it.
Well, first and foremost, what are they locking us up for? Are they locking us up because we're black?
No, you just said we commit the most crimes.
No, but I'm asking you a question. Are they locking us up because we're black?
I never said that. I never said that.
Oh, okay, so I'm just saying to you that the reason why we're locked up the most is because we're committing the most crimes. We have to fix our communities. It's a real conversation that Black Americans need to have, and I try to do that with the Blexit movement when I target our communities to have these conversations. The idea that white supremacy is the thing that's stopping Black America is a complete and utter myth.
Okay,
and until we're willing to have,
I never said that either. I just
whoa.
asked.
She's not saying you said that.
I'm not
She's
saying you
making
did.
a
I haven't
statement.
accused you of saying anything. I'm just saying what I'm actually saying. That's it, okay? The number one issue facing our community is father absence. Father absence, okay?
I disagree, but okay.
Excuse me?
I disagree, but okay.
Okay, well, you said you brought up the prisons, right? If you grow up without a father in the home, you're 20 times more likely to end up behind bars. You want to know who I got that from? President Barack Obama. He talked about the stats of what it does when you destroy the Black family. The destruction of the Black family, if you want to talk, oh wait, I'm not done. The destruction of the Black family happened because of Democrats and what they did in the 1960s.
I agree.
LBJ and his Great Society Act and the welfare system. We can talk about all of those things. The very last thing we should be talking about, if I had to make a list of 100 things that's really screwing up the Black community, white supremacy wouldn't make the list.
But I wasn't even asking about the Black community. I was just saying, you said America wasn't a racist nation.
It's not.
It's not.
All right, so
Yeah.
look.
It's not today.
The Black Panthers were all locked up and killed by the government. That's
Are the Black Panthers here
But
today?
I'm saying the KKK has been around since how long, and what has the government done for anything to persecute?
You think the KKK is alive
KKK?
today?
Yes, of course.
Oh my gosh,
okay,
what are you
hold on.
talking about? Find me one. I want to meet
now
one.
we have a
You're saying the
debate.
KKK doesn't exist.
Now we have a
at
debate.
all.
Hey, wait. Now we have a debate. So
Have you ever met one?
I'm asking you, what are you
So
saying
you're
whoa
saying
about?
the KKK doesn't exist at all? What happened?
I'm going to ask
What
you a
did the
question.
government do to erase them? What did the government do to erase the KKK? How can you say they don't exist?
You have to slow down. I can't understand what you're saying. What did you
That's
say?
crazy to me. But how can you say the KKK does not exist today?
Well, I'm going to ask you a question. Where are they?
What do you mean, where are they?
Where do they meet?
They could be judges.
I just thought this is a really big story and CNN should cover it. Where is the
It's literally an
KKK?
ideology.
No, can you
It could be
name a
anywhere.
leader? Can you name a gathering point?
Who's the
Anything?
leader? Where are they meeting? In what
How
country?
you
In what
gonna
city?
ask me where? I'm not going nowhere near where
Because
they
they aren't.
Because they don't. They literally live in the media's head. Have you ever seen a KKK member in a hood? I'm asking you a serious question.
So you're saying the KKK does not exist?
All right, come down. No, come down. I'm
say it
dying to
doesn't
see
exist?
this. Because I have asked every journalist that brings this up since Charlottesville to tell me
how
where
can
the
you say it doesn't
KKK meets.
So, in Houston, Texas, there was an event through
Georgia is
a predominantly Black neighborhood known as Acres Homes that was protected by the police, and they were escorted through a Black community. So that's the issue. So they do exist. They are there.
And they're protected by the police. Protected.
Okay. So I'm asking you a serious question. As a Black American, you fear the
I'm with y'all.
KKK.
I don't fear any.
Okay. So you saw.
That's where I agree with y'all.
Look, I am from one parish.
No. We're not doing 3-on-1. You can have a time. You can have a time when you get to the mic. I'm asking you a serious question. Of all of the things that is going on in the Black community, you cannot look me in the face and tell me that you really think that the rise of the KKK is a real thing.
But
I won't believe that.
I'm looking at America, not really the Black community.
And I'm shocked.
that's another
I'm shocked to
discussion.
hear. You said you've never seen a KKK member. You said that there was one in Texas. What year was it?
It was around 2008, just before.
2000 and what?
I graduated high school in 2008 in Acres Homes from Carver.
And they were walking down the street in hoods.
Yeah, that was an event there. It was a
Georgia, they
huge.
still have events.
Well, I think we're losing.
Good. Yeah. Well, let's not lose the focus. Yeah, that's fine. I will definitely look it up. I will look up the Texas event, the KKK walk. But the point that I was making, maybe they did meet once, however, 10 years ago in your town, and I'll definitely look into it because I always want to educate myself. But the point is that neither of you can look me in the face and tell me that you think that the KKK is a real threat to the Black community. It's just not
how
true.
when they could be a judge or a doctor or a, you know what I'm saying?
But the issue here is no one's denying
How is
that
it
there
not
are
fair?
individual
Racist in this country.
a country.
I said America is not a racist country.
So
you know it's not.
If they're not a racist country, how have they done nothing to persecute KKK members? Like
What?
David Duke. David Duke is a known KKK.
Yes, David
leader.
Duke endorsed a Democrat running for president this
Okay,
cycle. I
don't
just
care
have
what
to
he
say
endorsed.
that.
Why is he not in prison?
What did you say? I can't hear
David
him.
Duke
Can you
is
put
so.
the mic closer to him?
I do have to
genuinely
say though,
can't hear him.
it's so marginalized. It's so minimal. The overemphasis, over conversation,
weird that we
over
even talk
focus.
about it.
These
I mean,
people
it
are
honestly is
losers.
weird.
These people have no life. These people are not in mainstream society. These people are not what people
And
try
I
to
hate
make
that.
it
I hate,
seem.
and this is why I say when you heard me say earlier that I hate when we are the most privileged Black people in the entire world, right? We are, plain and simple. The most privileged Black people in the entire world live in America today. It's insulting to me because when my grandfather used to tell me the stories about the real KKK, the ones that would come on horseback and shoot into his home in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and do you want to know what my grandfather says about them? He says, and when they used to come around, my dad used to shoot back at them boys. Such an empowering thing when he talks about them. He talks about them like they were children. He tells me stories about when the black mothers would come out and take the hoods off and yell at them and say, is that you, Peter, or whatever their names were? And then when you come up and you say it like, what are we going to do about the KKK members? You're not afraid of them. I know you're not afraid of the KKK members.
I'm not afraid of them.
You're not. You're not. So why are we talking about them? Why are you even giving them the air or the conversation? Because you once saw them 10 years ago.
All America did was change
the
laws, and all they did was have to change their methods. They could have just changed their methods.
But what did they do? Did they shoot and kill? Generally, I'm trying to understand, where are the KKK? Are they killing black people? Because if they are, they definitely should be prosecuted.
Laws against murder.
I think that the issue, the thing he's trying to bring forward, is that when you look at the historical treatment of organizations or groups of people of color, whether it's Black Lives Movements or Black Panther and so on, the moment that they were demonized, they were listed as terrorist organizations. Why has it never been that the Ku Klux Klan was demonized or listed as a terrorist organization?
They were never demonized? The Ku Klux?
No.
By the government? Never.
Has the government
because
ever listed them?
Because they were the government. They were Democrats.
Well, yeah, this is not true. The Oklahoma City bombing was categorized as a terrorist act, so you're incorrect there.
So
the Fort Hood massacre was terrorist.
I was a common engineer. I was trained by some of the same people who knew the guy, so I understand.
So let me ask you a question. Was the Waco complex considered a terrorist organization by the FBI, yes or no?
Who?
The Branch Davidians.
It should be.
Oh, but they were white. You said that never happened against white supremacist organizations.
No, I said the Ku Klux Klan. I'm talking about the Klan.
It is a similar type organization. The Branch Davidians were
misinterpretation for almost the entirety of America.
The Branch Davidians were a white supremacist organization.
As a terrorist organization.
Guys, I'm going to wrap this up because if I genuinely thought that you thought the KKK was alive and well, we'd have a full, long conversation about this. What we're talking about here is that you want to ignore, and this is what genuinely frustrates me so much about the black community. You want to ignore all the really big issues that we should be talking about, okay? We all know what's going on in our communities. We just had another rapper that was gunned down. We know about black-on-black crime. We know about abortion. We know about the education system. We know about Antifa, which is the closest thing that I've seen to white supremacy since I've been alive, is Antifa, which is the modern-day KKK.
So I agree with you on all of those.
That show up,
I agree.
okay? And the media that demonizes. But instead you want to talk about something that you have to pull your memory from 10 years ago when they were walking down the street in Texas.
What do you think started black-on-black crime? It hasn't always been a big problem as what you're talking about. What do you think started?
I already told you what I thought. Father absence started black-on-black crime.
And
I already told you that.
What started the biggest father absence in America in the black community?
Lyndon Baines Johnson in 1964.
Was he not American government? That's what I'm saying.
And let's do a president.
Look, what I'm saying is I don't really care. I don't care about Democrats and Republicans.
Who is still encouraging father absence?
Democrats and Republicans are the same. It's the same government. That's what y'all don't see.
I'm neither.
Political parties are literally to divide us because Democrats and Republicans are the same.
I think you and I agree on the fact that there are problems. What we disagree with is that I am telling you that the left started it, the Democrats started it, and the Democrats are still perpetuating it. And the way that they're able to perpetuate it is by getting you to stand up here and ask me a ridiculous question about the goddamn KKK when we should be talking about father absence and abortion and black-on-black crime. Thank you for your question.
So you're saying Democrats started...
We got to move on. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
With that young man, I just don't understand why there's such an obsession with the KK in 2024. We talk about father absence all the time on this channel. It's a massive issue, particularly in the black community, but it's also becoming more prevalent in the white community too. The decline of two-parent households is becoming painfully clear in white America as well. Single-parent households are on the rise everywhere. But when it comes to the black community, the problem often lies within the community itself. In 2022, around 10,000 black people were murdered. And just to be clear, these deaths weren't at the hands of the police or white people. They were caused by other black people, often in senseless drive, by shootings. These shootings don't just claim the lives of adults, they kill innocent kids too. Almost 60 children lost their lives in drive-bys in 2022 alone. It's tragic. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not pro-KK. I'd love to see that group completely abolished. But let's be real, in 2024, the KKK is not the biggest issue facing the black community. Even if they were labeled a terrorist organization tomorrow, would it change anything? Would it solve the fentanyl crisis ravaging the country? Would it address fatherless homes, homelessness, or the housing crisis? No. Young people, black and white alike, are struggling to afford homes. The medical system is broken. Our southern border is a mess, with illegal immigrants pouring in. And let's not forget the skyrocketing price of food. These are real, pressing issues that are hurting the black community every single day. And here's the thing, If anyone in the black community thinks the illegal immigration crisis isn't their problem, think again. Illegal immigrants often take low-skill jobs, jobs that are needed by low-skill Americans, many of whom live in inner cities that are predominantly black, as well as poor white areas. This is a fact. So when it comes to the KKK in 2024, in my humble opinion, it's just not a major issue. There are far bigger problems we need to focus on. But hey, maybe you guys see it differently. Let's get back to it.
Hold up. Oh, my voice is horrible.
Hey.
All right. Hello. Quick thing. I don't want it to be the focus of anything, but I grew up without a father, just me and my grandmother. I'm sorry. Me, my grandmother, and my mom. And, you know, as someone that ended up okay, definitely not a criminal, definitely not thinking about doing any, you know, crime stuff. I always never liked the whole missing father thing. I think you can get by just fine if you have a really strong mother raising you, and I think a lot of people have those. I mean,
no, you can. You can. I don't disagree with you. You can, but we need to stop normalizing that and making it seem like it's something that we should stop fantasizing it. It's really hard, and if your mom did it, she did a tremendous job, and you should be grateful for that. But please don't make it seem like that's a norm and that's easy.
Got you. All right, cool. All right, so for my boy Charlie Kirk, thank you for answering my question out there. I appreciate it. All right, so now I love capitalism. I love the potential for free market. I love America, and I think it's a great place to live. Capitalism made it so, but when people's lives are involved, the cracks begin to show. Socialism won't work, we know that. But I want to see your solution for our healthcare crisis. The prices are coming up, and we need to bring them down. I want to see how you solve the healthcare costs and make this country great, like you say, while also not having normal people like me without the right to health.
First off, I love this question because we have tons of issues with the healthcare industry.
All right.
Okay, I mean, I'm not going to start because I'm up in a rant because you're absolutely right. It's ridiculous. It's way too expensive, and it's because there's a quid pro quo that exists between the pharmaceutical companies and the doctors, and you can't see what anything costs at all. And you go in to, I don't know, have a doctor check a cough in a hospital, and you get a bill for $4,000. I've been like literally debating a bill for the last 6 months that I refuse to pay. I don't care if I have to go into debt. I am not paying this bill. So I just wanted to lay the groundwork. Go ahead, Charlie.
Well, so here's the thing is we have a ton of things broke with our American healthcare system, but let's start with the less attributed, less talked about. We accumulate the most medical advancements, the most drug breakthroughs, the most cancer-killing medicine. Open heart surgery was an American invention that's now spread across the world. So we actually have the highest, the best quality. If you can afford it, we have the best healthcare. So the question is, that's a great admittance, and even objective. People say, wow, if you can afford it, if you're a millionaire, if you're a billionaire, you can get unbelievable treatment. Okay, a natural question is, how do we get more people to access something that only a few people have? Well, that's where the market is amazing at that. And the market works great when you have a finite amount of things. Competition and entrepreneurs and transparency. Those are the three things that are needed. So transparency would be one thing I could probably agree with Democrats on, that it's just so screwed up that you can walk into a hospital, you can walk into an emergency room, and no one knows what anything costs.
I agree with that.
You know, consumers deserve to know what things cost. In fact, I think eventually the market will demand it. But we use this example a lot, and I'll use it again just for the sake of people that have not heard it, which is 5 or 6 years ago, actually 8 years ago, there was a decision by insurance companies not to cover LASIK eye surgery, okay? Oh, yeah. LASIK eye surgery is very, very precise. You're dealing with a vital organ that all of us use all the time. And so it's obviously something that should not be messed around with. Well, insurance companies said they weren't going to cover it. It became a cash-only business. So it used to cost anywhere between $20,000 to $25,000 per procedure to get that done. Now you can get it as low as $3,000 to $5,000. Almost 80% cost decrease, and the surgery is actually better than ever before. So how did that happen? Well, it's because people knew what things cost and they knew what they were getting out of it. And so first and foremost, everyone should be able to buy health insurance across state lines. That is so important. You can buy auto insurance across state lines. You can buy house insurance across state lines. That creates a market.
Yeah.
Secondly, we need more doctors. We regulate how many doctors we allow through this crony relationship with the American Medical Association. Right. Third, you should not always need a doctor present when you get a procedure. A large portion of medical treatment actually could be done by a nurse practitioner. Flus, colds, broken arms, broken legs. Why do you need a doctor to sign off on that? Walk-in clinics at Walgreens are a great market indicator of how things eventually will be. So look, markets have solved so many problems in our society that we take for granted. It'll be no different than healthcare, but right now we don't have anything but a market, and they want to take us in the exact opposite direction. Dave, do you want to comment on that?
I'm with you.
Great.
No, and I'll just add, don't allow the healthcare industry to be an argument against free markets and capitalism, because our healthcare industry is not an example of free markets and capitalism. That's actually the problem with our healthcare industry. We're not making any decisions as a consumer. We don't know what the prices are. It's more of an example of crony capitalism, if anything else, not something that we're adamantly opposed to.
And I just have one more thing. And yeah, one of your chapter people told me about that LASIK eye surgery. I think it was your president. She's a cool person.
Very good. She's very cool. I agree.
I posed this question as well. So it's about socialized medicine. Why can't we compete with the government? If somehow things turn out and, you know, socialized medicine comes in and everyone's paying hella taxes to take care of everyone. Sorry, I have a bad vocabulary, but if everyone's paying taxes yeah, that's what it is. If everyone's paying taxes to, you know, take care of everyone, can the private, you know, medical stuff, if we get there, can't we just compete with the government and still have that lower socialized option at the same time?
Well, first off, I don't know if you guys know this, but the Democratic platform 2020, the tagline is hella taxes. So that's one thing.
I like that.
But yes, you're right, except that already the Democratic candidates right now, Cory Booker and Kamala Harris and a bunch of them, are already saying they will eliminate private enterprise. So I think you're right. Your premise is right. Could we have something that, you know, could the federal government be involved at some level and then let the private marketplace, let some competition get in there? I think most everyone in this room would agree, even people that don't like big federal government programs. But the Democrats are already saying, no. Once we pass this thing, there will be no competition. And that's what the problem is.
We have an example. The Veterans Administration is a mess. It is such low quality care. This is so important because we have a first-hand example of socialized medicine in our own country. It's essentially our national health service where our heroes and our veterans walk into a VA and they are sometimes not treated and they don't get calls back. We spend $150 billion a year on the Veterans Administration, and most of that money, if you actually go and audit it, most of that money goes towards administration, not actual application of the medical treatment itself.
Oh, joy.
And so look, we also have Medicaid in our country where tens of millions of people are on, which is healthcare for the poor, which is not exactly luxurious healthcare.
I just got dumped from that. Yeah, like last Friday I lost Medicaid, so wild. Yeah.
So it's broken, right? And that was an attempted program for universal healthcare. What are we really talking about here? You need market-based healthcare. You need healthcare to work with the same market engine that we enjoy all the same prosperity that we have every single day. So great question. We really appreciate that. Thank you. That's why you're here, right?
Healthcare in America is a serious problem. It's a broken system now. Let me use myself as an example here. I've been very fortunate in life. I ran a successful business, had great jobs in my 20s that opened the door for me to start my own ventures. By the time I was 35, I was able to retire. I didn't have to work another day if I didn't want to, and I'll be fine. But that's not the reality for most Americans. The truth is, most people in the U.S. today can't pull together $5,000 or $1,000 in an emergency, and medical bills are one of the leading causes of bankruptcy. So is socialized healthcare the answer? Not necessarily. I think the best solution is probably somewhere in between, a mix of both systems. As a dual citizen of Canada and the U.S., I can tell you that the wait times for healthcare in Canada are long. Maybe not as crazy as some make it out to be, but still long. Now, for someone like me, with the financial means, the American system works better. But in Canada, no one is going bankrupt because of their healthcare bills, and the taxes are drastically higher. What I'd love to see is a focus on making prescription drugs affordable. A lot of Americans retire on a fixed income. Many of them are veterans. They need medications like insulin, painkillers, or other essential drugs, but they simply can't afford them. As a result, they're forced to move abroad, to places like South America or Southeast Asia, where they can get the same medications, made by the same pharmaceutical companies, for a fraction of the cost. And I'm not talking about shady, underground labs here. I'm talking about legitimate medicine, the same brands you'd find in America, but at pennies on the dollar. Take insulin, for example. If Pfizer can manufacture insulin in Vietnam and it costs a tenth of what it does in the U.S. Why can't we have those prices at home? I get it. Big Pharma has a massive grip on America, and they're all about profits. But we've got to find a way to make these medicines affordable for everyday Americans. It's crazy that in 2024, you can get better healthcare in some developing countries than in wealthy nations like the US, Canada, or the UK. And I'm not talking about third world countries, but developing nations where the quality of care rivals or even surpasses what we have in the West. No one should be going bankrupt over a medical bill in 2024. I still believe that the privatized system in the U.S. is the best when it comes to innovation and quality, but because of the financial strain on so many Americans, a hybrid model that combines the best of both worlds could really help those struggling to get the care they need. All right, let's get back to the video.
Get back to the video.
Hi, we're just two high school students. We're not really here for like the debate. We just want to know your opinion. So,
it can be argued that even though you guys contribute the success of this nation to capitalism and the Constitution, etc., a lot of people can argue that it can be mostly attributed to the labor of the minorities that we've
Nobody can make that argument. No one can make that argument successfully and win.
Okay, so but like, what is your opinion on that?
I mean, fine, make the argument. How many slaves were there in the South? Are you saying minorities like slavery? Do you think this country was built on slavery?
At least partially, yes.
Okay, how many slaves were there in the South?
I don't know that exact number.
That's the problem, is that you don't know that. This country was not built by slaves. It's a ridiculous argument to make. I understand you're in high school, and I guess that's kind of where you soften this, so I'm not going to go too hard here, but you kind of backed me against the corner here by saying you're in high school. You can't, if you're saying that you don't know the answer to that of how many people in the South actually own slaves, then you shouldn't make the argument that this country was built by slaves.
But I don't think that it's an argument of how many people own slaves, because we do know that the majority of people in the South did not own slaves. However, there's still...
That's the argument.
Okay.
The majority of people in the South didn't own slaves. The upper elite echelon of the South owned slaves. Well, 85% of the people in the South didn't have slaves.
So here's a great argument. It's okay, and thank you for being here, by the way. It takes a lot of courage to get up, so thank you, first of all. If that argument were to be correct, then let's juxtapose other countries that had slavery even longer than America did.
They still have them in Africa. How's Africa doing as a continent? We can go in any country. They've always had slaves in Africa, and they still have a slave trade in Africa, and all the countries that have it aren't doing great. So if slavery contributes to a productive society, then how come all the societies that have slaves aren't doing amazingly?
Not only is slavery one of the greatest evils in human history, but it actually doesn't make a country richer. It's actually really interesting. So the idea that slavery would actually increase the amount of wealth in society, you actually look at growth rates, things stayed relatively the same in the American South under slavery as far as economic progress or lack thereof. But when you liberate individuals, which is of course based in a market economy, that's where you start to see the wealth creating engine start to accelerate.
Innovation.
Because what's inherent in slavery? You have to control a lot of people a lot of time. So your focus is on controlling and just repetitive labor. It's not on creativity, it's not on taking risks, it's not on empowerment.
The cotton gin was a better option than having slaves pick cotton. So innovation is what drove the society forward. If you really want to talk about it, you're talking about the people like Vanderbilt. Andrew Carnegie. These are the people, the men that built America. J.P. Morgan. It's one of the most, I don't want to say ridiculous, but it's not the right argument to make that this country was built by slaves.
But also nobody's making the argument that America has not done things wrong. But that's why I posed the question to you guys about your grandparents, and I would pose it to you guys as well. I mean, if you really just think about your grandparents for a second, because think about it, we've done things wrong in America. We had slavery, we had Japanese internment camps, women couldn't vote, gay people could get married. I mean, we could go on and on of the litany of things that have been wrong throughout time, and guess what? They've consistently been corrected. We've consistently bent. We've consistently bent. Thank you, Charlie. He's my sidekick now. But that really is what it is. That nobody's saying that things have not been bad. No one's saying things have not been perfect. The founders, who you said earlier, the Constitution is the greatest political document of all time. I absolutely agree. Guess what? Many of the founders owned slaves. We have to be able to really understand that they were men of their time, and that nobody's perfect and that time changes things. So the arc here has bent towards equality and goodness, and I think that's what we have to focus on. Not that there weren't moments throughout time where we did things wrong.
And judge a society on how it identifies problems and fixes them.
Yeah.
And so you can use another example right now, the country of Brunei, or the country of Saudi Arabia. So if Dave went to Saudi Arabia right now, he'd be killed. No, I'm not exaggerating. This is not a joke. He lands in Riyadh, they would kill him because he's gay. And so their inability to improve over time is not excellence, it's not greatness. Our ability as a country to say, whoa, we're not doing something right here. We have a moral compass that's being violated. How do we fix it? That's a really amazing mark. That corrective mechanism is something that is really beautiful and really exceptional.
Well, I would also say that even if your original premise was correct and America was born out of some sort of evil thing, let's just pretend for a moment that that was correct. The proof is in the pudding now. We have bent towards goodness. So it doesn't, in a weird way, it does not matter, even if the premise that you were offering originally was correct.
Okay. Thank you guys for coming tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, these two ladies bring up an interesting point. What's the number of slaves still in the world today? 40 million, right? We don't have slavery in the West anymore. That was abolished. But here's the thing. You can't go around punishing people today for injustices that were done in the past. Were there wrongs committed back then? Absolutely, no question about it. And let's not forget, even some rich black people owned slaves, but we abolished slavery. We went through the civil rights movement, and now women and minorities have the rights to vote, work, own businesses, everything. And that's what progress looks like. But trying to fix inequalities by punishing people in the present for what happened in the past, that doesn't work. Inequality is always going to exist in some form, whether we like it or not. Some people are born into wealth. Others are born with different advantages like looks or intelligence. Life isn't fair in that sense. But what we should strive for is equal opportunity, making sure everyone starts off with the same chances in life. Of course, it's easier if you come from a wealthy family with two parents who care for you and teach you good values. That's obvious. You've got a head start. But if you're born to a single mother working 2 jobs in a rough neighborhood, or a poor white kid in Appalachia growing up in a trailer park, your life's going to be harder. That's reality. Getting out of poverty is tough, no matter your race or background, but you've still got a chance. That's why it's so important for parents to do their best for their kids, to make sure they don't start life at a disadvantage. But when we keep dragging up the past and pushing this victim mentality, it turns into a never-ending cycle of who's the most oppressed group this week. It's like there's always a new group we need to appease. Enough already. We've got equal opportunity right now. We all have the same chance to succeed. What you do with that opportunity is up to you. Punishing people today who never owned slaves to somehow make up for people who did centuries ago, that doesn't help anyone. We need to focus on moving forward. All right, let's get back to the video.
I just wanted to thank you guys for coming tonight. I appreciate everything you guys have to say. I have a very simple question. I just wanted to know how all three of you wanted to help people in general, just not only conservatives, but liberals as well. Or
I love this question. This is so great. I think personally, I hope that I can just liberate minds. I mean, I think that that's my job, is just to just by existing, by letting people know that a black woman can have conservative principles. It liberates minds on both sides of the aisle. And I hope that, thank you. And ultimately, the goal is to get people to move towards a more productive conversation to actually fix the issues that we do have. Because the issues that we have in America, as I said before, are not racism, it's not sexism, it's not misogyny. I think we have entire groups of minorities that are suffering from a tremendous sense of low self-confidence and not realizing that they can have a piece of the American dream if they start to believe in themselves. What I'm selling every single day is self-confidence.
Thank you.
Well, first off, I love the question, and this is why on my show I try to focus on ideas more than specific policies, because I want people to understand the broad sense of how we go about doing things.
I'm a fan of your show. I gotta admit, it's great work.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. So I would say I want to defend the very principles that have led me here to this very moment where I can speak my mind openly and freely in front of some people that I agree with and some people that I disagree with. In my family, we lost members of my family on both sides due to the Holocaust. I'm gay. I understand what it is like to be the other. And I want to make sure that everyone, regardless of your skin color or religion or sexuality or gender or any of it, can live free. And you know what will allow people to live free? It's the things that we've been talking about here. It's limited government, it's the right to control your own destiny, it's individual laws that govern as you as an individual and not as a collective. And those are the things we have to fight for. And not only do we have to fight them, but you guys are growing up in a particularly unique time. I'm not that much older than you, but when I was in college, nobody was really thinking about this. I was smoking a lot of pot and playing Sega Genesis, okay? Yeah, so I guess I am that much older than you. And I'll get these guys on weed eventually. It just takes time. But the point is, let's take the libertarian approach, Charlie.
You have the freedom to.
We'll get you there.
You have the freedom to make a mistake.
We'll get you to conservatism.
But the point is, that you guys are living in a truly unique time where it feels like the entire chessboard has been tossed upside down. And the leaders, the people that your parents, grandparents, it seems like everybody isn't sure how to chart a course forward. So it's on you guys in a particularly unique way. That sounds like a lot of pressure, but that's sort of the beauty of the adventure of life. So whatever you want to do in this world, you can do it. You can do it, and it's going to take hard work, and maybe somebody will have more advantages than you going, right at the beginning. But if you bust your ass and you're good and you're talented and you're honest and forthright, whatever the hell it is that you want to do, you can do it, and that's what I want to defend.
So, the way I think we can help people, and this is so important, and this is programmed into our consciousness, and it's programmed into the new term on the left. They call themselves progressive. There's a lot of talk about liberation, and I agree with Candace 100%. We need to have minds liberated. We need to have people thinking differently and more freely. But we also need to preserve and conserve some things. Maybe some things shouldn't be changed. Maybe you should go back to the way some things were at times, like having two-parent households, when people used to go to church, when the Bible was read in school, when people prayed, when people didn't always look to government for the answer, when people courageously stepped up and went to World War II. Maybe things don't always need to change for the sake of changing them, because it seems as if we're programmed that think all change is good change. And don't get me wrong, I'm thrilled that gay marriage is now the law of the land. I think that was a good change. I think there are changes that could be appreciated. But I had this conversation with a leftist the other day, and they said, well, Charlie, you seem kind of anti-change at times. I say, yes, some change is not good. And they said, like what? I said, like laws against pedophilia. So that's probably something we shouldn't change. Would you agree? Maybe that you could do heroin out in public. I think that's something that we shouldn't change. Or that you could publicly defecate without consequences in San Francisco. You think I'm kidding? Or that you just shouldn't have borders and anyone can come in at any time. And so my focus is on preservation, because I think that there's been a gift given to us, and if we just get into this mind trap that progressivism is always a good thing, then we will lose some things that sometimes just should not be changed, because they are timeless and they are bedrock institutions that we should always hold dear to our heart. And so you have the necessary liberation that Candace will lead, and God willing, hopefully the necessary preservation that I also want to lead. And you intertwine those together, you have something that could really be successful. So, thank you.
All right.
I have one more.
One
more thing to ask. Okay, yeah. So if you could give a piece of advice to anybody in this, every human being in this room, how to help the next American, what would that be?
Help yourself.
I was going to say lead
Help yourself.
by example.
That's it. Yeah, that's Jordan Peterson. Clean your room. That really is it.
Thank you.
Well, and to expound on that is, treat your neighbor how you want to be treated. How do you want to be treated? That's the thing. You don't just want to get stuff given to you. Sometimes you want discipline and responsibility. Candace, closing thoughts?
No, I was just going to say lead by example. I try to do it every single day. Don't back down. Be brave. The greatest gift that I ever had in my entire life is my grandfather. He led by example. He was a man of very little words, but I watched him and I observed, and that was enough. He took care of business. He led the household. He was a strong example, and I think that's the best thing that you can be, is just a strong example and make good decisions in your personal life, and the people around you will respond. You guys.
I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps us grow. And don't forget to smash that thumbs up button. It really supports the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace out. Everyone,